Hello, my friends. Today there have been many statements about ending the war. Of course, everyone is waiting for Trump's inauguration, which will take place in 3 days. Russian military bloggers are already spreading rumors that a ceasefire will supposedly take effect at midnight on Monday, the 20th. Interestingly, the Russians don't even seem satisfied with the idea they'll stop dying in droves. However, it's highly likely that this is just another rumor. It's doubtful that the war will end so quickly, but feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, the situation on the front continues to deteriorate. Russian and North Korean forces have resumed their push in the Kursk region, attempting at all costs to force the Ukrainian forces out of Russian territory. While the intensity of offensive actions isn't very high, only 15 assaults in the past day, they have managed to advance in two directions. The village of Ruske Porychne is now under their control. However, the Ukrainian forces are holding the line as much as possible to maintain some advantage during negotiations. In the Kharkiv direction, shelling continues without interruption, but so far the Russians haven't launched any new offensive actions. Fighting is ongoing in Vovchansk and the village of Tikhe, but the Russians have made no progress there. In the Kupiansk direction, the Russians are attempting to advance further to encircle Pokrov or Kupiansk and are assaulting the village of Kindrashivka. They are also trying to break through to Petropavlivka, but the Ukrainian forces are preventing them from securing any positions. As a result, the front line has remained unchanged over the past day. In the Borova direction, activity remains high. The Russians are assaulting Boguslavka, Kopanki, Novosergiyevka, and advancing southward near Novoyegorivka through the fields. Fighting is also reported in the vicinity of the village of Makiyevka, but the front line hasn't shifted over the past day. For now, all attacks are being successfully repelled. In the Lyman direction, the Russians are again attempting to break through to the village of Kolodezi and advancing from the village of Terny toward Yampolivka. They are also shelling Lyman, but they have been unable to secure new positions. The Ukrainian forces are holding off all attacks. In the Siversk direction, the Russians are assaulting Grigorivka, but compared to previous days, the activity has decreased again, and none of the earlier attacks have been successful. The front line remains unchanged. In the Chasiv Yar direction, activity shows no signs of slowing down. The Russians continue advancing further into the city with ongoing assaults on Stupochki, Pretechne, and attempts to break through near the villages of Bilagora and Alexandru Shultene. However, the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling them in the fields, keeping the front line stable. In the Toretsk direction, the Russians continue pushing towards Krimsk in an effort to align the front line. Clashes persist on the outskirts of Toretsk, accompanied by shelling of Petrivka. It's evident that in the near future, attempts will be made to expand the territory under their control. Overall, the situation remains challenging with no decrease in Russian activity. In the Pokrovsk direction, Russian drones are operating up to 12 kilometers beyond the front line, leaving all frontline areas under attack. The Russians hold a significant advantage, causing the situation here to worsen. Currently, fighting is ongoing for Udachne, Kotline, Uspenivka, and breakthroughs are being attempted near Zvirove, Zelene, Lisivka, and around Mirnograd. Assaults are also reported in Promень, Myrolюбivka, Yelizavetivka, and Baranivka. While no new breakthroughs were made in the past day, the situation remains critically difficult, and foreign media outlets are now openly reporting on the disappointment on Ukraine's allies regarding the inaction of its top command and challenges with mobilization. The desertion within the 155th Brigade, which cost $930 million, has highlighted the complex mobilization process in Ukraine, the inaction of top leadership, and growing concerns among allies. Reports suggest that Zelensky is now overseeing investigations into abuse of power to ease France's frustration. A new mobilization law passed last spring hasn't curbed street-level conscription. Last year saw a rise in desertion. While some generals turn a blind eye to bad news, other military officials blame their subordinates. If even our partners are reporting on this, it indicates that the situation has truly spiraled out of control. In the Kurakhove direction, the Russians are assaulting Andriivka, Dachne, and Constantinople. Gradually, they're making progress, and the front line are getting closer. It's likely that soon the front line will align in this area, and the Russians may start advancing toward the Dnipropetrovsk region. In the area of Velika Novosilka, the Russians are assaulting Vremivka, but there have been no changes to the front line within the past day. However, Ukrainian forces report that the situation remains extremely difficult. The Russians, following stabilization measures in Neskuchne, quickly turned their focus to Vremivka. Advancing from the south, they are steadily pushing northward and making their way along the streets near the Mokry Yaly River. Currently, they have taken some of our soldiers prisoner with casualties on both sides. If they manage to seize Vremivka, it will severely impact our garrison in Velika Novosilka. The Russians are actively carving a path in this direction. In the Zaporizhzhia sector, Russian forces continue the attacks after a prolonged lull. It seems that they've gathered reserves and launched a new wave of offensives. Assaults are ongoing on Malatokmachka with attempts to storm Novoandriivka and Sherbaki while shelling the village of Pyatakhatke. For now, there are no changes to the front line, but the attacks persist. In the Kherson direction, only shelling of the right bank is currently being recorded, with no new successes for Russian forces on the islands. Meanwhile, the future US Treasury Secretary under Trump has made a significant statement. Scott Besant, nominee for U.S. Treasury Secretary, stated during Senate hearings on Thursday that, if confirmed, he would be prepared, if necessary, to impose additional sanctions on Russia, including its oil companies, to influence Moscow's stance on Ukraine. If confirmed, and if President Trump requests such measures, I will fully support implementing new sanctions, especially against Russia's largest oil companies, to the extent necessary to bring Russia to the negotiation table, Besant said. He also noted that, in his opinion, the sanctions imposed by President Joe Biden's administration were insufficient for a long time, as they were overly concerned about the potential spike in energy prices during the US elections. However, as Besant pointed out, Biden's team eventually introduced significant restrictions shortly before Trump's inauguration, creating high oil prices issues not for themselves but for the next administration. It's clear that Trump's team is taking a decisive stance, which is encouraging. This suggests that the issue of this war may see active resolutions in the near future. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.